He doesn't yell, he doesn't argue. He just never works with you again. For over 7 decades, Clint Eastwood built his name on discipline. Not the kind you talk about, the kind you carry. He worked fast, spoke little, and expected everyone around him to do the same. From Dirty Harry to $1 Million Baby, from American Sniper to Unforgiven, Clint built a legacy by keeping things sharp. But not everyone got the message. A few actors tested his patience, broke his rules, and challenged him on set. He didn't blow up, he took note, and he never forgot. And once you hear their names, you'll understand why Clint Eastwood hated them more than anything in this world. Number 5. Jean Seberg. Well, let's start this list with the actress whose name still makes Clint Eastwood go quiet. Back in the 1950s, it was one of the biggest talent searches in Hollywood history. Over 18,000 young women auditioned. The role was Joan of Arc. The winner was a 17-year-old from Marshalltown named Jean. For a while, it looked like she had everything: beauty, intelligence, mystery, and a voice that could cut glass. But by the time she stepped on the set of Paint Your Wagon in 1968, she was no longer a rising star. She was a storm drifting into Clint's tightly managed orbit. Eastwood was already uncomfortable doing a musical, especially one that required him to sing on camera. But he came prepared. He always did. Seberg, on the other hand, came with distractions. One day, she was smiling, ready, and sharp. Next, she'd vanish into her trailer, mid-rehearsal, trying to sort out something only she understood. Clint ran his scenes like a carpenter, precise, efficient, never overworked. Seberg floated through hers like a dream she couldn't fully explain. And Clint didn't do dreams. He did daylight, tape marks, and one clean take. A simple walk and talk sequence would stall out after 5 starts. A love scene could burn a full afternoon. She'd pause mid-line to ask about her character's motivation. Clint would just stare, silent, holding the scene in place until she ran out of steam. When the delays started eating into time, he didn't raise his voice. He simply stepped away, gave her space, came back 10 minutes later and said, "Let's just get this done." For Clint, that counted as a meltdown. But what sealed Jean's place on his never again list came after the credits rolled. Paint Your Wagon flopped. And in the aftermath, Seberg gave interviews blaming Eastwood's wooden acting and lack of musical skill for the failure. To Clint, who'd bent over backward to carry that production, the public swipe wasn't just ungrateful, it was betrayal. He never responded in public, not even after her tragic death in 1979. But people close to him noticed something. If someone brought up Paint Your Wagon or her name, Clint wouldn't argue. He'd light a cigar, change the subject, and walk off. Years later, one of his friends summed it up best. "Some people aren't cut out for the work," Clint said. "It's not their fault, but it's not something I need to deal with twice." Number 4. Richard Burton Welsh star. Richard was a highly regarded and respected actor of stage and screen, earning 7 Oscar nominations for performances in films like The Robe, Equus, and Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, along with many others that solidified his name as one of the most powerful performers of his generation. By the late 1960s, Burton wasn't simply famous. He was revered, trained in Shakespeare, admired by critics, and paid like royalty. When he agreed to star in Where Eagles Dare alongside a rising Clint Eastwood, the pairing looked perfect on paper, prestige meeting grit, theater colliding with hard-edged cinema. But once the cameras rolled, the contrast between the two men turned sour. Clint ran sets like a disciplined workshop, quiet, focused, and efficient, believing that the first honest take carried more truth than endless repetition. But Richard was totally opposite. He didn't just arrive with a different philosophy, he arrived with a different lifestyle. Mornings blurred, hours slipped. Crew members recalled him arriving late, exhausted, sometimes still carrying the weight of the night before, while Clint was already dressed, prepared, and waiting. And that's what made the difference impossible to ignore. While Eastwood treated every shooting day like a job to be respected, Burton often seemed to treat it like something he was fitting in between last night and next drink. Scenes that should have taken minutes stretched into marathons. Retakes piled up. Patience thinned. During a major exposition sequence, Burton reportedly ran through take after take, chasing a scene that Clint had already given before breakfast, and there was a quiet irony in watching the Shakespearean titan struggle with lines the so-called action star had locked in before sunrise. And as we know, Eastwood, as always, never blew up. He didn't scold. He stepped aside, watched, and when someone asked if he was frustrated, he answered dryly that he was getting paid by the picture, not by the hour, a line that drew nervous smiles because everyone knew it was the polite version of what he was really thinking. The deeper fracture came when Burton, in a moment of careless honesty, referred to Where Eagles Dare as a paycheck job within earshot of the crew. To Clint, who believed every film deserved full commitment no matter the genre, that wasn't humor. It was an insult to the work and to everyone doing it. Years later, when Burton's name resurfaced, Eastwood didn't rant or reminisce. He simply said, "Talented guy, wasted talent." In Clint Eastwood's words, that wasn't a comment. That was a final verdict. Number 3, Barbra Streisand. Well now, if there's another name that still makes Clint's jaw clench after nearly a century in Hollywood, it's Barbra Streisand. He doesn't curse her or mock her like others. He just refuses to say her name. And that silence says more than any word could. Their feud began in the early 1980s, when both were shifting gears, from actors to directors, each building their legacy from opposite ends of the same industry. Barbra was exacting, theatrical, and a perfectionist to the bone. She takes 40, 50, and sometimes 60 takes, just to catch one precise flicker of emotion. Clint didn't agree with this kind of approach. He ran on instinct. 2 takes max. If it wasn't there the first time, it wasn't real. He saw Barbra's work not as passion, but as paralysis. By the early 90s, whatever artistic tension had simmered turned personal. When The Prince of Tides missed a Best Director nomination, Clint was overheard telling a close friend, maybe if she made decisions faster, she'd finish more than 3 movies in 15 years. That one single line spread across Hollywood faster than fire. Then came The Bridges of Madison County, the project that shattered whatever fragile détente remained. Barbra had been circling it for years, on and off, never pulling the trigger. Clint stepped in, rewrote the whole script, directed it his way, and turned it into a quiet masterpiece. It earned Meryl Streep an Oscar nod. It earned Clint something even better, vindication. Since then, they've avoided each other completely. In Clint's mind, she came to represent everything he couldn't stand about modern filmmaking: indecision, over-control, and the death of instinct. Where she fine-tuned, he moved. Where she doubted, he acted. For Eastwood, filmmaking has always been about trust, in the moment, in the actor, in the gut. You set up the shot, breathe through the scene, and pull the trigger once. That's the code. That's the job. And when someone breaks that rhythm, when they drag the process into vanity and control, Clint doesn't argue. He just walks away. And Barbra Streisand was the one who made him walk the farthest. What do you say? Number 2, Tommy Lee Jones. If you think Barbra or Jean was the only one who tested Clint's patience, you haven't met Tommy. This one on the list wasn't some slow-boiling feud or artistic clash. It was a full-on personality collision. We mean 2 intense men, 1 set, and 0 room to breathe. In the Line of Fire hit theaters in 1993, and on screen, the tension crackled. Behind the scenes, it nearly cracked Clint's last nerve. Everything about the setup looked solid. Clint and Tommy, two no-nonsense actors, both known for minimal takes, straight shooting, and not wasting time. But the problem wasn't style, it was dominance. Clint ran his set like a quiet machine. You came in, did your work, and left the drama at home. But Tommy brought the drama with him. Well, not the loud kind. The kind that lingers in a stare, in the way he rewrote lines, questioned choices, stayed in character long after the director called cut. Crew members noticed it early. There'd be scenes where Tommy's character had to get in Clint's face. And after the scene was done, he wouldn't break. He'd just keep going and going, staring, pacing, and staying in that aggressive headspace while Clint stood there like, "Are we done here?" One technician said Clint finally walked off after one of those takes and muttered to his assistant, "Life's too short for that kind of bullshit." That's how you know he was done. He didn't yell or throw a chair, he just checked out. The real breaking point came during a major confrontation scene. Both actors had a different take on how it should play. Clint gave his view, then deferred to the director, Wolfgang Peterson. Tommy kept pushing his own version, take after take, line after line. Eastwood watched it all unfold, quietly, but to those who know him, he'd already made his decision. The film was a hit. Nobody questioned the performances, but once it wrapped, Clint never looked back. Over the next couple of years, casting directors brought up Tommy's name for roles that seemed tailor-made for him. Clint didn't argue. He didn't explain. He'd just shake his head and say, "Let's look at someone else." Years later, someone asked if he'd ever work with Jones again. Clint didn't flinch. "Tommy's got his way of working. I've got mine. Sometimes different approaches should stay different." That's Eastwood's version and the philosophy of slamming the door. Number 1. Leonardo DiCaprio. A wise man once said, "Life is not a rehearsal." Clint built his entire career around that idea. You show up ready, you feel the moment, you capture it, and you move on. That philosophy worked for him for more than 70 years. It was what won him Oscars. It built legends. But in 2011, on the set of J. Edgar, it ran straight into one of the most meticulous actors of his generation, Leonardo DiCaprio. On paper, the collaboration looked untouchable. Clint, the quiet master; DiCaprio, the obsessive craftsman. In other words, respect met intensity. Experience met hunger. What no one anticipated was how violently those strengths would clash. Clint's sets are famous for their calm, minimal takes, almost no direction. He doesn't hover or lecture. He lets the camera roll and trusts instinct to do the rest. Leo works the opposite way. He builds his performances brick by brick. Research binders, historical notes, marked scripts, long chats about psychology, motivation, and backstory. He doesn't step into a scene. He dissects it first. A script supervisor later said it felt like watching two fluent speakers of different languages trying to hold the same conversation. Leo wanted to explore every single emotional shade. Clint wanted him to say the lines naturally and let the moment live. Neither approach was wrong, they just weren't compatible. The tension showed itself most clearly during the heavier scenes. DiCaprio would often ask for more takes, wanting to try different emotional notes. It's normal in most productions. On Clint's sets, it feels like heresy. There was one emotional breakdown scene that crew members still talk about. Leo delivered it flawlessly on the first take. The room went quiet. Clint softly said, "Perfect. Cut." Then Leo asked for another, and another. By the sixth take, Clint had left the monitor and was standing at the craft table, coffee in hand, waiting for it to be over without screaming or shouting. To Eastwood, the issue wasn't the work ethic. He respected that. What bothered him was what it suggested. Clint believes the first take holds something fragile. A kind of truth that disappears the moment you start chasing it. When an actor keeps asking for more, he reads it as doubt. Doubt in the moment. Doubt in the director. Doubt in the instinct that made the scene work in the first place. Despite everything, the production stayed professional. DiCaprio gives a performance that critics praised. Clint never criticized him on set. But when filming ended, people close to Eastwood said he looked drained in a way they'd never seen before. One producer remembered his final words on the last day. Clint just sighed and said, "Some people want to climb the mountain. Others want to study the mountain, measure the mountain, and write poems about the mountain. I just want to get to the top and enjoy the view." After that, something changed. When Clint began casting new projects, DiCaprio's name stopped coming up. And when it did, Clint's answer was always the same. "Great actor, not for me." And in Eastwood's world, that's the sound of a door closing. It was a way of saying the conversation was over before it ever became an argument. If the rhythm isn't there, he doesn't fix it. He replaces it. That's how he's always worked. Well, hope you found this video interesting, guys. If you did, be sure to like it and give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more incredible stories like this. Take care. We'll see you soon.